Well, hello there. I was in the workshop yesterday starting to shoot this video, and I was saying, oh, this is the point at which I've got to get everything really accurate. And then I flipped the guitar body over. And if you know how to fit a tremolo, you know the mistake that I made. I don't know. Anyway, I fixed it now. So, let's get on with this video. Play the intro, Dave. In this series, I'm going to be building an electric guitar for a talented young musician. Now, he's come up with a fantastic design. So all I have to do is build it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be challenging. I do hope you'll join me. In all seriousness, this is the point where I've got to be really careful about where I put everything, because it is really important. And so I've marked on the back of this the correct position of the routing for the bottom of the tremolo. I had it going that way. Oh, ridiculous. Anyway, so that's done. What I want to do first off is actually cut the top out. And so what I've done, I've marked it out on this top. I've just gone round with a pencil, and that's all nicely lined up. So I'm going to cut this out on the bandsaw. Yeah, give myself a little bit extra so it can be sanded down. Now, somebody did ask me what speed did I run my bandsaw at, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I don't know, and I haven't been able to find the manual for this old one, which is the one I cut the shapes out with. I mean, effectively, this is just an Axminster sort of standard craft bandsaw. I've had it many years, and as you can see, the speed is fixed. It seems to do the job. On my larger bandsaw, it does look like there might be an opportunity. There's two different size wheels there, and there's two different size wheels on that. I have never touched that. I just leave it at the standard setting. And again, this is an Axminster craft machine. That looks okay. It's got a bit of extra all the way around there, so I can just sand that down. I'm keeping all these offcuts because I'm going to have to experiment with the dye. I need to dye it and then sand it back, and these will be ideal for doing that. Before I glue the top on, I want to see if I can take a little bit of material out of this body just to lighten it a bit, because I think it's very heavy at the moment, and with that on as well, although this is very light, this is, and which is why I've sort of marked the pickup positions on here. So I think what I might be able to do is to take some material from the top here, just go round there and see if I can take out some sort of shape there without interfering with any of the other cavities that I need, particularly for the controls. There'll be obviously a cavity underneath. So I'm just going to mark that out, and I think I'll get the router out. Okay, well, now it's substantially later in the day, and I didn't bore you with it, but I've actually made myself another template. This has got some bits for the router in it, and yeah, I think it's going to do the job. So I've got a bit of a cutout there that I can route down before I put the top on. Everything else has got to be done once the top's on. So I think the next thing to do is stick this down and actually cut some wood. I need to do is line this up. I'll try and get it right this time. Looks pretty good. That's pretty solid. Now I'm going to take it down probably to about 15 mil from the bottom to start off with, I think. See how that is. And to do that, I'm going to use these Forstner bits to take out most of the material, and then I'll just tidy it all up with a router. Okay, stage one done. Got all the Forstner bit holes in there. Right, now I'm going to lock it into my clamp, my guitar clamp. Okay, so that's nice and secure, ready for the router. Well, that seemed to go all right. I've got a nice cavity there which doesn't get in the way of anything else. So yeah, hopefully that's going to lighten it a bit. Now, although all the pickups and the bridge need to be routed from the top, I do need to be able to connect the two pickups up with the control box, which is down there. And it might make it easier if I do a channel between these two. Because then all I need to do is drill in through the jack socket up through into the pickup there. Okay, I've got some holes in a row there, and to be honest with you, I think I'll feel happier just chiseling this out rather than getting the router out again. Well, apart from the fact that the camera battery went flat halfway through that, that went pretty well. Yeah, I've got that in, that's okay. I'm also thinking I might as well put a channel in from this pickup into what will be the control cavities, and also just put a little slot there for the earthing wire to the bridge. Might as well do this sort of stuff now while I can see it. But it's getting late. It's one of those days where there's been lots of interruptions and things, and yeah, well, I've got stuff done, but progress a bit slower today. Anyway, at least we are making progress. Hey, who says guitar building doesn't keep you fit, eh? I don't know. Phew, that's a lot of work that was. Okay, I think it's time to get this top glued on. So I'm just going to wipe off any dust off the top there. And off the bottom of there. Okay, got a selection of clamps ready, got the glue ready. Let's do it. Well, I've loaded that up with clamps, so hopefully I've cracked that one. All I can do now is just let that cure. I'm going to leave it to cure at least overnight. Now I normally leave this router spanner in the box, which is underneath the bench here. And it's a bit of a pain to get out every time, so I've got a hook up here. I'm going to hang it up there. Now then, I've written router on it. If I forget, you'll have to remind me in the comments. It's been about 48 hours, so now it's time to take off these clamps. It looks pretty good. I think we're okay with this. By the time I've sanded that back to the shape of the guitar, that should be okay. Now the thought occurred to me that I could use some of the offcuts from the top of the guitar to create the top of the headstock, the veneer for the top of the headstock. So what I've done, I've taken these two pieces, I've trimmed them down to size, I've done a bit of planing. I'm just going to do a little bit of fine sanding on this. Doesn't need a lot. And they go together really nicely, and I think that's going to make a great top for the headstock. So I've got my little book match top clamp. This was designed for making the travel guitars, which are much smaller than a conventional guitar, but just the right size for me to clamp these two pieces together. So I'm going to glue them and clamp them. Right, just clean up the edges. A sheet of paper in there, just so it doesn't stick to the bottom. I'm having to use a couple of pieces of wood just to narrow the gap there, but that looks okay. Right, here we go. Slide that into there and do these bolts up. Hopefully I can do them enough. Just put some candle wax on the threads of these bolts just to make them a bit easier to move. Now the trick with this was this centre piece, which screws down and holds the work in place. Okay, I'll leave that to cure. Now I was in the workshop earlier working on the neck and actually redoing the headstock because I wasn't happy with the position of the nut in relation to the headstock. I want the nut to sit at the point when the headstock falls away. Now you'll notice here that in actual fact the nut at the moment is just a little bit back from that, so it's actually on the slope, which is no good. But in actual fact I'm going to have a veneer on the top of this of about 2 millimeters, and so when I do that, in actual fact the nut will be on the flat, so it will actually sit flat at that point there. And I'm happy with that now. So I've gone ahead and marked up the width of the neck. And to do that, I've used my template. Now, I learnt a long while ago that creating a neck template that was actually the whole scale length is incredibly useful, because it gives you a really good idea of how the neck expands towards the body and indeed towards the bridge. So that's really good. Now the problem that I have is in manufacturing this template, I was slightly off. So there's only one good side, and I've marked it on the bottom there saying use this edge. So what that means is I line it all up with the centre line, I mark that edge, then I flip it again, mark it with the centre line and mark it on the other side, and that way I know I've got a mirror image of what should be right. It's actually only about 0.5 millimetre wrong in places, but I'd prefer to use the side that I know is accurate. Anyway, so I've marked that up with pencil. I've also used this new template for routing the neck pocket to help me mark the position of the end of the neck. So if you can imagine, this is the first pickup, this is the neck pickup, and the neck has actually got to go right to the edge of that pickup, or the front edge of that pickup. So I've marked that, and I've marked a line on the neck. So that's the length of the neck. And I've also marked fret 24. So the first thing I want to do is cut the neck to the length, and I'm going to do that on the bandsaw. I need to wrap the truss rod slot. This is 6mm wide, it's 9mm deep. I've got the collar on the router, I've got my guide on the neck, and I've set the depth. So let's do it. Okay, so that's got most of the channel done. It's just the last bit here, which is wider because of the adjusting nut there. I'm going to do that by hand. Just going to mark it out with a pencil and just chisel that out. Okay, that fits in there, slides down into that, and if I can get the Allen key in to make adjustments. So that's done. Now for a little bit of scary bandsawing. about these scarf joints is, apart from the difference in grain, you can hardly see there's a join there. And that's the same on the other side. So that looks really nice, and I've sanded that down roughly to the size that it's going to be. Well, okay, I think I'm going to wrap this episode up. I've got quite a bit done this time round. I've got the body top glued on. I've got the truss rod mounted, and the access to the truss rod just chiselled out. I've got the veneer for the headstock gluing, and I've got myself a new template to help with the routing. That's going to be really beneficial. So yeah, got quite a bit done. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all your comments. Don't forget to stay tuned, and I'll see you soon. Stay safe. Cheers.